Why, hello, awesome people. Welcome back to the AfterShock Happy Hour and live sale. I'm your host and the Senior Retail Relations Manager here at AfterShock Comics, RuthAnn Thompson. We have a very exciting show today. So we have somebody on as our special guest who is a children's book writer and comic book author of, such things like Spider-Ham, Mario, Pokemon, Batman, and now several titles with yours at Aftershock. Let's introduce you to Steve Foxe. Hello, good sir.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining, and cheers to you, and congratulations on Rainbow Bridge coming out this Wednesday. It's been a huge hit so far.
Thank you. Yeah, I've got my copy right here, so I can
Yay!
conveniently point to it on the stream.
Yeah, well, before we get into that, I want to take a step back and find all about you and brought you into this industry. So I know that you've had like a more of a focus on children's books and YA titles and such. Is that what you always look to do? Like, what was your first comic book that you're like, yes, I want to write this, but I want to do it for kids?
Well, honestly, my career has been much funnier than that, and I've
Ooh.
kind of been at both poles when it comes to adult work and kids work. The kids work more of the volume, but the first comic I ever wrote was a Witchblade comic, decidedly not for kids. And the first graphic novel I sold was for Oni's 18 plus line. So I've always had this kind of funny back and forth. But I've been very singularly focused on writing comics and kids books since probably middle school. I went through high school and college knowing that that was my goal. And I actually went to a college where you kind of create your own major. So I studied comics and children's books. Like when I say I had blinders on, like I had blinders on. And I ended up interning for Marvel around 2009, 2010, and just kept snowballing from there. Kids stuff was kind of the happy accident because my senior year of college, I interned at Random House Children's Books, and they ended up having an opening after I graduated. So I was like, okay, great, I'll take it. And I worked there for 5 years and got more and more familiar with the children's side of publishing, and I've been doing both ever since.
It's awesome. Wait, so just because I didn't know about the Witchblade thing, just for the audience who might not know what Witchblade is, let me show you an example of how it is. It is not definitely not for kids. Hold on. Of course, I am the most aggressive nerd. I have so many different anime figurines and the whatnot. And so, of course, I just have her final form. Wait, hold on. So, the camera can catch that. So yeah, not exactly. Forget, and that's verbatim her final
Yeah.
form. So just for all those at home who don't know the Witchblade IP, there you have it. So yeah, so for you, was it just storytelling in general, and then you just got into the YA stuff, or is it because there is such a magic with telling stories to kids and working within like that world because it's always the kids that suck you into their imagination, it seems like. So what has that been like for you?
Yeah, I mean, storytelling from day one, and I'm kind of from that perfect generation to have just been full hook, line, and sinker into comics. I mean, I was born in the into the 80s, so I grew up with X-Men the animated series, Batman the animated series, all of that stuff. I was really like the prime customer, and it just never grew out of it, which is exactly what every publisher wants to hear. And when it comes to writing for kids, it is so fun to have an audience that's willing to suspend disbelief and go with the flow and think big things and dream big things. And there's a Morrison quote that gets used and butchered a lot, but no child ever asks who changes the wheels on the Batmobile. Like they just don't care. It's a Batmobile. But then you have adults who are like, well, wait a minute, let me like pick this apart so I can feel smart. So I do love writing for all different age ranges, but there is something special about writing for younger readers who are just like all in on the fun and in the magic. And I get to work with so many fun properties that I've loved my whole life. Like you said in the beginning, I've written stuff for Mario, Pokemon, Batman, Grumpy Cat, this like Baby Shark. I just did a couple Baby Shark books, like just
I
really
love
fun,
it.
bizarre properties that I get to throw into the mix with the more adult stuff I do, and things like Rainbow Bridge, which are fully original stories.
That's just I love everything that's like YA and kid stories and like all that kind of stuff. So it's such a pleasure to not only be working with you now, but have a story that you've told with us, which is great. And you were saying that you love working for some of these big IPs. So for you, when it comes to, because we've had a lot of creators on here, but none YA writers. So for you, what has been the best and worst parts of either having an IP that you're working on or doing your own, creator owned title?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's really fun and a bit of a relief to walk in and have a bunch of characters and worlds already set up for you. Like I can't spoil what I was writing last night, but it's a fully established cast of characters that I've loved since I was 5. And just being able to walk in and say like, okay, I know this person already, and you have that voice in your head and you have that world already established. Or when I wrote Batman kids books, it's like you have the version of Batman and Catwoman and Clayface and all these other characters that you already know. So it's kind of warm and welcoming to walk into that already established. But I'm very glad I've always been a little greedy. Like I don't pick one lane to stay in as a writer. So doing things like Rainbow Bridge or Party and Pray or Adventure Kingdom and other original stories, getting to build that from the ground up and not have to play by anyone else's rules or fit any sort of, expectations from up above. That's a lot of fun too. I couldn't choose one or the other.
So great. So I'm seeing some of the comments here, and we have one from Thaddeus who's like, well, now I just realized I have only one copy of Rainbow Bridge in my new release wall. Heck yeah. So that means it's been selling really well. So I want to jump right in and start talking about Rainbow Bridge specifically, speaking of creator owned titles, and just came out this Wednesday. It's just the sweetest story ever. So I'd love, how about you describe, because of course we don't want to spoil too much for those who haven't picked it up yet, but
Sure.
you describe the title to everybody.
Yeah, so Rainbow Bridge, which I co-wrote with Steve Orlando, who is unavailable today, unfortunately. He's a very busy man. The title, a lot of pet owners and animal lovers will know, is a phrase that's usually used to refer to when an animal passes away. You say they crossed the Rainbow Bridge. And if you're familiar with Norse mythology or the Thor movies or anything like that, you also know that the Rainbow Bridge in Norse myth is Bifrost, which is a literal rainbow bridge to Asgard into other realms. So Steve had texted me out of the blue one night saying, what if the rainbow bridge that pets cross over was the Bifrost? And that was kind of the genesis of the whole thing. So the book does open with a bit of a sad development. The main character, Andy, he's turning 13 or 14. He's about to enter high school, and the dog he has grown up with his whole life, Rocket, has passed away. That's already occurred by the time you open the first page. I've seen a lot of people say like they don't know if they can handle reading something like this, and I get it. I'm a big softie when it comes to animals, but the sad stuff's pretty front loaded. Then it's all fun adventure from there. And so we developed Rainbow Bridge with the idea of what if you could have one more adventure with your best friend by crossing that Rainbow Bridge and joining them for some big epic quest in the afterlife. And that's what Andy gets a chance to do when he's feeling at his lowest and most unmoored. He gets to cross the Rainbow Bridge as a living human being and reunite with Rocket. And on the other side of the Rainbow Bridge, the animals are much larger and can talk. So it's a big shock for him, but a big fun adventure for everyone else.
Yeah, and like you said, it does of course start with a very sad thing, like any of those kid movies that we grew up with, like All Dogs Go to Heaven or Bambi or anything like that. And so yeah, I warn people like, yes, you probably will cry. I definitely did. But it's not, it doesn't get too difficult for anybody. And I just absolutely love the way you connected it to starting high school, because for so many awkward kids, that's the big scary step. Like the middle school is one thing, and you have all those hormones and everything that happen by the end, and then it's just everybody's kind of in puberty, not in puberty. Oh God, starting this brand new school that's supposed to make you feel like an adult at the end, but you never do. It's like just so much like anxiety wrapped into one, and to have it that his best friend that he has relied on through every step of the way is no longer with him, and I had talked to you and Orlando about this, but I just absolutely loved how you guys wrote that the parents are so supportive, because in a lot of kids' stories and like ones that we grew up with, the adults are kind of a-holes like about stuff, and they're just like, oh, just get over it. God, he's just a dog, that kind of thing. But the family is just so wonderful, because they foster animals all the time, and they're even talking about how like they're there's some goats on the way, and like, oh God, they're pregnant, but we'll still take them in. We'll take the best care of them. So, and you had mentioned how that was kind of based on your own family experience.
Yeah, so my parents don't run a sanctuary or anything. That would be great. But they do adopt only senior animals, and they have for the past decade or so, mostly cats. And it's tough taking in an animal knowing that you're going to have less time with them, but it's so rewarding too to give, a senior animal or medically needy animal a loving, supportive home in their twilight years. And the first cat I adopted when I graduated college and moved out on my own, we the rescue had said she was probably 4, and then the vet said she was at least 14. So she turned out to be a little old lady. But it just made such an impact on me. I actually have a huge memorial tattoo for her on my rib, which I can't show on a Zoom, but it's there. So I wanted to imbue that into the book and show that nicer side. Because like you said, so many of the movies we grew up with and books we grew up with, it's very much like parents just don't understand. And I get it, but also as I reach the age that parents usually are in these books, as I'm starting to reach that, it's like, wait a minute, I'm not a morally bankrupt person detached from reality. I like these animals too. My boyfriend's watching the new Gossip Girl, and we realized that the actors playing the parents are
no,
about
don't
our
say
age.
Because did you see that meme that came out recently about the parents of the Rugrat kids? Because like we all picture them being like in their 40s or whatever, and like the parents are like 30 and 31, and you look at like especially the dad who's just so strung out and around. I was like
completely haggard, and I can
that
relate,
tracks.
Especially after the last year.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just some comments that are coming in that are very sweet. So C List E-Man says, Aftershock Comics, my daughter is 11, just started 6th grade and is looking for a new comic. And I can that her and I can share. This seems like the one. Absolutely. This, we say like 6th grade is generally the youngest, but there's nothing that's too scary. There's nothing that's too sad. There is a little bit of a dark twist when they're on that side of the Rainbow Bridge. There is a dark. What did we finally call them? What did you want to call them?
They're called wraiths.
Yeah. The wraiths.
So there are a bit of a darker edge, but nothing that an average 11-year-old wouldn't be able to handle. And we in kids literature, and when I first started writing this with Steve Orlando, something I had to explain to him is that kids traditionally read up. So if a protagonist is 13 or 14, the primary reader for that book is going to be 11 or 12, because when you're a kid, you really kind of want to know what's coming next in your life. If you're a 6th grader, you want to know what high school is going to be like. If you're a high schooler, you want to know what college and living on your own is going to be like. So I find that kind of 12 to 14 range is a really nice sweet spot for YA, because these are the kids who most want to know what being a teenager is going to be like. Versus a 16 or 17-year-old, they're ready to find out what the crazy world of college is going to be like.
Oh yeah, they have it all figured out. They know they're full adults, like 16, 17, please. We all had it so figured out back then.
You could not have paid me to read a YA book when I was 17. And then I go to college and start working in the field. So things change.
Yeah, a little bit. So speaking of things changing, let's go, because as you said, you started out with writing for this comic book and then started doing kids books, and you kind of flipped it with your work at AfterShock. So we have Rainbow Bridge that just recently came out, but you also are paired with Steve Orlando to do a new title with us called Party and Pray, which could not be more opposite. I mean, maybe there's a way to make it more opposite, but
not many. Yeah,
not many. So switch
far.
Complete gears back over to AfterShock and the dark world that we like to enjoy our titles in. But describe this title for everybody.
Okay, well, first off, no 11-year-old should read it.
No, no.
Anyone in the chat solely for young reader books, just cross this off your list immediately. Party and Pray is an adult horror thriller. It's a gay horror thriller. It's funny to say things like that, because it's like, Steve is bisexual, I'm gay. If we write a horror thriller, it's going to have some of that perspective in it, even if the characters aren't necessarily. But we really wanted to lean into that. So it's a home invasion chase thriller sort of thing. It hinges on a twist about 20 pages in, so it's a little difficult to talk about. But basically it opens in a bar where an older man and a younger man start talking, and they go back to the older man's house, and all hell breaks loose. That's kind of all you can say without starting to give parts of it away. But we wanted to do a very breakneck chase thriller horror story set in a mansion between these queer men.
And for you, because this is one thing that, we've worked with Steve Orlando a lot, and he's done very well of bringing stuff to the table that hasn't really been done before. So for you, what inspiration did you have for this, and like why this story?
Yeah, well, horror has been part of my DNA since I was like a mid-teenager. I was late coming to it. I was very afraid of it. And then once I crossed over, I crossed over all the way. And a big turning point for me was the Books of Blood by Clive Barker. Clive Barker also created the novella that would go on to become Hellraiser. That's how most people know of him. And he's a gay man, and he writes a lot of horror that has queer sensibilities. So reading his short story collection is really what turned me into a diehard horror fan. And he's most associated with body horror and extreme things like that. That's not necessarily what Party and Pray is, but getting to tell a horror story, a sort of a no holds barred horror story with queer protagonists, is fulfilling a bit of a lifelong Clive Barker dream for me.
That's so good. That's great. I mean, obviously, I've gotten more used to your children's stuff, and now I can't wait to see like that turn, because it's very, very different. But
Yeah.
it's a story that we have not heard. And so, for you, like you said, this is not a body horror. Do you feel like this is a bit more of psychological horror?
I've been saying horror thriller because it's not necessarily like, there's not a jump scare. It's not like that. It's more akin to like the Invisible Man, the Elizabeth Moss one, or Get Out, or stories like that, where there is a bit of a psychological aspect, but there's also just a pure, like, you have to get away from the threat. When we first brought Alex Sanchez, the artist, on board, we were telling him, the first 20 pages are one thing, and then the back 80 pages are kind of like nonstop. So have fun with the first 20, and then once you get to 21 or so, there's no pause until the end. And
And
that's really how we ended up writing it. And we just did the final lettering pass on it this morning, actually, and it was nice to see it all in one place and see how we all managed to pull that off.
yeah, and so like as we mentioned, it is an OGN, so it's all in one. For you, why was that important versus serializing it?
You know, Party and Pray really could have gone either way, but because it hinges on a twist like it does, and because it deals with sensitive topics, we're talking about ageism in the gay community, we're talking about people taking advantage of other people, we're talking about how marginalized people are at a different kind of risk, because sometimes going to the authorities can be just as much of a risk to us as not. So it was a bit of a relief to us to find out that it was going to be an OGN, because readers have it all at once. There's not going to be a phenomenon where you read the first 20 pages and you feel outraged about something that then gets answered by page 70. So it's nice to kind of have that as one contained story. You can take it in all at once. And if you want to be mad at it afterward, at least you've read the whole thing.
Yeah, you had to get through all of it. Haha.
Yeah. It's like, you know what, you just get it all at once. And especially because we wanted to do that kind of relentless pace. If it was going to end up being a serialized story, we couldn't really have pulled that off. You would have to bring readers back into the story each issue. So getting to do it all at once means that we could really slam the pedal into the floor.
Yeah, and it does seem like it's going to be a very fast-paced, very cinematic type thing. And for a lot of people out there, they know that here at AfterShock Comics, we also work on selling our IPs for film and TV. So if this becomes a movie, obviously they'll have to be like no holds bar, rated R, like pretty aggressive stuff. Who would you want to be cast as the two leads? Like
Ooh.
best case scenario.
Victor Garber for the older man.
Yes. Okay.
And the visual inspiration for the younger man is Freddie from Skins, if anyone has ever seen that. I don't know what that
Oh.
actor is doing anymore, and he's probably aged out of the part a little bit, but that was the inspiration we sent Alex to kind of picture who we had in mind. It would also be kind of, I'm not a big Ryan Murphy guy, unless he wants to adapt this, in which case I love Ryan Murphy. But it would be kind of fun to get one of the many like twinks he employs for his extended universe to play the younger part. You can pick any of them. They're essentially interchangeable.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's fairly cookie cutter, like across those.
Or actually, you know what? I take it all back. Troye Sivan,
Oh,
the singer, because he also has a bit of an
yes.
acting background. It would be cool to see him do something with a darker edge.
All right, so let's tweet at all of those actors.
Victor Garber and Troye Sivan. Yeah, I think that would work for me.
Yeah. Perfect. I love it. And yeah, so for everybody that's looking for either of these two extremely different titles, Rainbow Bridge is in shops right now. So head to your local comic book shop. It just came out yesterday for New Comic Book Day on August 11th. I love it so much. The artwork is just so fantastic, and having I want to have a doggo that's like larger than a warhorse that I can like get on and like ride and talk to. Like, it's very sweet. It's very fun.
It's funny. Yesterday, a corgi that looked exactly like Rocket from the book walked past my house, and I really debated with myself about running outside with one of my comp copies to try to get a photo, but I just couldn't get the image of me running at this corgi out of my head from the other direction. And I was like, I can't actually do this. But yeah, Valentina Brancati, the artist, and Manuel Papo, the colorist, and Haas, the letterer, they all did such amazing work on this book. As much as Steve and I had fun cooking this story up, seeing it come to life from Valentina, Manuel, and the rest of the team was just like blew us away every chapter.
Yeah, and it's extremely cinematic. Like, it feels like you're watching, a cartoon movie. It's so beautifully done, and like they're just the characteristics and the energy behind all the characters. You really feel it.
Valentina was such a great choice for the book because her animals have so much character, but her people also have so much character. It's funny to say, but the early sequences that are kind of just Andy and his family are some of my favorites because the acting she has between the family, it's such a lived in feel. Like, you really feel like this is a mom, dad, and son who have this dynamic, and they have this house, and they have these rescues. Like, it feels like you're walking into a world that already exists. And I just love what they did with it.
I love the addition of the little one-eyed chihuahua. It's just so cute because of your obsession.
A screenshot of that chihuahua is on my desktop, and it will never leave my desktop. Yeah, I love old, weird chihuahuas.
Which I do not like. I absolutely, I cannot blame you for that because they make the weirdest noises and they're just so odd.
It's like my entire Instagram feed and my boyfriend's entire TikTok feed is just weird old chihuahuas.
So you will get one hint of a weird old chihuahua in this book. And
hopefully lots of people pick it up and we get to do a Rainbow Bridge 2 and I can just push all the chihuahua into possible.
I love it. Do all of that. I know you got the corgi fans already very excited about this book. And on the complete opposite side, Party and Pray will be in shops on October 6th. So if this OGN sounds very interesting to you, make sure you let your local comic book shop owner know before the end of this month on the 31st, because that is when it is the final order cutoff to get it. So let them know to get that if you want something from Steve Foxe, Steve Orlando that's completely different than Rainbow Bridge, and I'm super stoked for it as well. And Steve, where can people follow you on the social meets?
I am Steve_Foxe, Foxe, on Twitter and Instagram. Instagram's really just photos of my dog, though, which you might want if you read Rainbow Bridge. But otherwise, Twitter is the best place to get updates on everything else I'm working on.
Yay! Okay, well, I just thank you so much for joining, Steve, and I'm sure we'll have you on again, especially once Party and Pray is out, because we'll have a lot of questions.
Very different mood for that one.
Yes.
But thank you so much for having me, and thank you all for working on Rainbow Bridge and getting it out there, and to everyone who reads it.
Yes. So again, it's at comic book shops right now, and stick around because we're going to take just a little baby break, and then we'll be back with the world famous AfterShock live sale with the incredible Joe Pruett. So see you in a few seconds. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the AfterShock Happy Hour. And now it's time for the live sale with the incredible, incomparable, unstoppable Joe Pruett. Hello, Joe. How you doing?
Shows in the house. Yeah.
Woo!
You guys been doing a great show so far. So
Oh,
thanks for having me.
oh, always, sir, aka my boss.
Gosh,
But we have some pretty incredible items for this live sale, don't we?
I think we do.
I think we does too. So let's start off. We have another happy hour exclusive, and this time it is Campisi #1. Check this action out. And this is by Mike Rooth, who I think I see is in the comments.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Yeah,
He's very,
he's-
very egotistical. He wants to hear all the praise.
It's all right. He's got his fireball. He'll be fine.
Yeah, there we go. So this just came in. I think this issue just came. Did Campisi just come out this
did.
week? Okay, so
It came out yesterday.
A happy hour exclusive variant. Mike Rooth right here, our little go-to person for the happy hour shows.
Yes, and as you actually saw on the back of that as well, it is our official 100th title. Point, point,
That's
point,
right.
point.
Yep. Campisi was number 100 for all time.
Yes. So usually we do these for about $20 each, but today for the next 24 hours only, we're going to do it for $15.
Exactly.
And for any of those who've been joining these, you also know how quickly these sell out and then how much they end up being on eBay. So highly suggest picking up as many as you can, as soon as you can while it's still on the discount.
We appreciate you people all being here and watching the show with us. We're trying to give back a little bit by giving some exclusive variant covers for you. So Campisi is one. We did Bunny Mask as well. And we have a couple more surprises coming. I think maybe the next one, we have We Live fans in the house, perhaps. So we might have a We Live. I'm not saying we are, but we probably will.
So you heard it here, folks. It's happening. No, just kidding.
Campisi said, get now before it's all sold out.
Yes. And then since we've been talking about our work with Steve Orlando, we have some Steve Orlando stuff to give away or to sell. So we have Dead Kings #1. We have signed copies of those, only 4 in existence.
4 signed by the man Steve Orlando. So all 4 are right here in my greedy little hands. And if you don't want them, I'll keep them. And you'll pay later on eBay.
Yes, you pay later on eBay and with regret.
You got to supplement that income. Yeah.
Yes. So usually that's $20. For this show, it's only going to be $10.
Yep.
Next
only
up,
4.
Only 4. That's right. Only 4 in existence.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay.
Yes. That's why you're paying the big bucks. He can count all the way. All right, and then we also have some gradeds of Dead Kings. So we have Dead Kings #1 graded. Ooh, usually that is $40, but we're going to sell it at the low price of only $25 today.
Yep, only 10. So
yeah,
get them what you can. 9.8s, people. 9.8.
Yes, good ones. And then we have. Oh, go ahead, Joe.
So vastly underrated series. So.
It really is. So for those that don't know, it's a kind of post-apocalyptic storyline in Russia after some very devastating wars. And all that's left is there's like a few of the freedom fighters and that kind of thing. And the main character's brother actually gets captured and put into an internment camp for being gay. So the storyline is the other twin brother trying to save him and recruiting as many people in this very desolate world to save his brother and hopefully save the society that's left over. Well, I don't know.
And being a twin myself, I know it's a fantasy. I would never do this for my brother. So,
Jim, if you're watching, run. No, just kidding. We also have the Dead Kings #1, the graded incentive. Again, only 10 of these. Who did that incentive cover?
I knew you would ask me that. Oh, yes, it is. It's Michael Gatos, one of my old buddies. I can't read even with glasses on. This is tiny print, people.
It's on the back. It's not on the front.
Well, it's on the right here in the small.
It is? Oh, it's in that tiny print too? Okay. I think I ask you now just so we can get that wonderful pause of,
Yeah, so Michael Gatos did a very pretty green color. I love green. It really pops.
All right, so now we know if we're any gifts for Joe, get him green. He loves green.
Purple. Number one.
Purple. Oh, purple number one. Good to know. Good to know. Noted. All right. So now we have a bunch of even more signed stuff, and this is all Tony Harris. So for all those that missed him on here, gosh, that was probably like a few months ago. Absolutely so much fun. And yeah, so we have first the Kaiju Score number one variant signed by the Tony Harris.
Yeah, this is one exclusive for the show. We offered it. Was it last show? Maybe before?
I believe so.
But since I actually was down at Tony's house this past Sunday, I tied him to his table and stuck a Sharpie in his hand and a gun to his back. So he signed several things for me. So we did sign. I probably have 50 of these, maybe.
Nice.
Signed up by Tony Harris right here. The man, Tony. Great cover.
Great cover. Yeah, so that's usually 25. We're going to do it only for 20 here. And for those that don't know the Kaiju Score relevance for today's show, Campisi is written by the same gentleman who wrote Kaiju Score. And we actually just had that big announcement a few weeks ago that the Gunn brothers are going to be doing the script for Sony Pictures feature film of Kaiju Score. So everything else is sold out. So highly suggest picking this up, especially since it's
the third printing of Kaiju Score was just released through Diamond and sold out instantly. It had to be allocated. So is there a fourth printing in the future? We'll see. But this is a true first printing. It was printed with the first printing of the first one. It was never released.
Yes.
So.
Also signed by Tony Harris, and even more exclusive since we only have two issues of this. It's the Eden One Shock from Colin Bunn, and this is the incentive cover by Tony Harrison that's signed. That's
only two copies. Yeah.
I absolutely love that cover, like the colors, the everything.
Right, yeah, it's great.
So
it really pops, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm. And a fantastically creepy storyline of a tattoo artist who starts falling for a customer that keeps coming in every couple weeks, but her tattoos just magically disappear in between. And we don't know why until we find out, and it's absolutely awful and terrifying and sad. So a very good book to pick up. And again, very exclusive, only two of these. So usually they're 15, and now we're going to sell them just for 10. So really good deal. Last but not least is the Project Patron number one ambassador variant by Tony Harris. And we have those signed as well.
Yep.
But this is also very exclusive, right? How many of these do we have?
We have 20.
We have 20.
20 total. So again, another one. Tony's great covers. Pops out. Hey, look, and there's some green in here too.
Oh, yeah. And some kind of purple.
And some purples. All right.
All right.
This is like, to me, the perfect cover.
Yeah, we found it, folks, right here. So yeah, so like we said, that's usually 20. We're just going to sell it only for 15. So highly suggest picking up as many as you can, because you could, whether you're a collector or you like to do turnaround, all of these you can make quite a pretty penny on. So starting back from the top one more time for everything you can get on today's live sale, we have Campisi number one. So this just came out this week. This is the Happy Hour exclusive cover by Mike Rooth. And we only have 150 of these. This story is another really fun genre mashup from James Patrick, where it's kind of a mob-esque, like Goodfellas type movie, but then with the fantasy stylings to have a dinosaur show up into town, where we've been following this small-time fixer who, if you're a little too rough with the girls, he takes care of you. If you haven't paid your taxes to the mob group there, he comes and collects. But now he has a dragon to fight, as you can see from this gorgeous cover there. Oh, lots of purples in this one too.
I know. Great. Thank you, Mike.
Yes. So usually it's going to be $20, but for the next 23 hours, it's going to be only $15. So highly suggest picking that up. We have 4. Yeah.
4 Steve Orlando Dead King Ones first printings. These are beautiful and signed by Mr. Steve Orlando himself.
I like that he made sure to do the red marker so
it
matched you're right. It almost looks like that's how it was printed. It's really pretty.
So I'm willing to let these go for the next 23 hours, or they stay with me forever.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you'll never get them back. That's how it works. And usually those are $20. We're just going to do it for $10 on this. Then we have the graded books of Dead Kings. So we have the #1 graded signed, or sorry, where we only have 10 of the original cover, usually 40, now only $25.
Right
And
here.
then the incentive cover,
Michael Gatos.
Michael Gatos, that's who did it. Usually that is $50, but we're going to do it only for $35 for the next 24 hours. So
What a bargain.
what a bargain indeed. We have the Eden incentive covers
Only
by Tony
two.
Harris. There's only 2 of them signed, and they're a beautiful cover of a wonderfully creepy story from Cullen Bunn, which is very different actually from a lot of his work, but it's still, still has that perfect creep factor that he brings in. Then last but not least, we have the Project Patron #1 ambassador variant signed by Tony Harris, and only 20 left of those. Usually 20. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And then, I skipped over Kaiju Score. Yes, that we don't have that many of either. And that's the variant that was signed by Tony Harris as well, usually 25.
Exclusive to this show only.
That's the only time you can get it. So yes, make sure to click on those links, buy up all that stuff absolutely as fast as you can. And we're super stoked. So in 2 weeks for our next happy hour, we're going to have the incredible artist Andre Mewde. So if you loved Maniac of New York, if you loved and still love Bunny Mask, which we're all still so obsessed over, make sure you join, because we're going to have a bunch of stuff from both of those titles, and we can find out about his inspiration for this creepy, wonderful artwork that he does. But Joe, how you do? Oh yeah, and then also it's Free Comic Book Day this weekend. Joe, you are going to be at a shop this weekend. Where are you going to be?
I will be at Dr. No's in Marietta, Georgia. Myself and Mark Bagley and Joe Listener. So if you're in Marietta, and if you're not, why aren't you? Come see me this weekend. I'll be happy to sign anything you have.
Yes, and everywhere you go for this Free Comic Book Day on Saturday, August 14th, make sure you pick up the We Live title from us. We are a gold level for the first time for Free Comic Book Day. Very exciting. And hopefully we'll see you out there. I'll stop at a few shops here in LA, probably down to Heidi Ho to help with their move, and a couple other spots. So I'll be tweeting that out as well. But yeah, as always, guys, thank you so much for joining this happy hour and live sale. We'll see you in a few weeks with Andrea Mewde.
Awesome. Thanks.